All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are doing another installment of Wildwood at Home. During the pestilence, we've been starting to do some interviews with some guitar buddies of mine, and I was very excited that Rick Vito agreed to be involved with us, and he is here with us today from his home down in Tennessee. And I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Rick's activities, and I will just say I'm a huge fan of Rick's and had the pleasure of doing some gigs with him last summer with the band. And was that last summer? It was last summer, right?
Yes, it was.
It was. My brain is, and we were hoping to do some more. And but there's lots of stuff to talk about with Rick. I was very excited when, because of course he'd been playing with various iterations of the Mick Fleetwood ensembles over the years, from Fleetwood Mac to Mick's blues band and so on and so forth. They just did that recent Peter Green tribute concert in London, and I was very excited to see that Rick was involved. And if I may be so bold, he was really kind of the glue that held that whole thing together, and it was just so awesome to see him in action. So Rick, welcome. Thanks for taking some time with us. How you doing?
I am doing great, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Drums and the guitars and that awesome kind of terracotta color on the walls that matches one of the stripes in your hat. So
that's perfectly. Right. We're tying it all together, Rick.
You have definitely done it, my friend, from a design point of view. How do you have a signature guitar now in every color of the rainbow?
Well, you know what? Most of the colors in the hat are represented at this point, which is powerful.
Well, the whole spectrum of colors yet to come, I'm sure.
Indeed. Well, hopefully. So let's talk a little bit about your most recent trip. Describe what it was like. I mean, I know you had worked with Mick for a while, but there was some time there. We spent some time apart, and next thing you know, you guys were talking, and this thing happened. You want to tell us a little bit about that, if you would be so kind?
Yeah, we had been talking. Mick had this idea to do the concert involving a lot of the major English guitar players that loved Peter Green style, etc. That they were all in the same circuit together prior to getting famous, and then after getting famous, the concert circuit, etc. So he'd been talking about that for years, and I guess about 2 years ago, we sort of went different ways for whatever reasons, and then all of a sudden on Christmas Day, I was surprised by a call from him talking about the upcoming concert that was going to take place at the London Palladium. And some things were talked about and smoothed over, and I agreed to go to Maui and join him in the rehearsals from the get-go. So, I guess I could tell you the people that were involved in this thing were just an incredible array of guitar players, producers, engineers, filmographers, etc. But some of the other guitar players were, starting with the rhythm guitar player, was Andy Fairweather Lowe.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic.
Hopkins band for years, along with David Brass, who was the bass player. Bronze. Got to get those medals clear. David Bronze, bass player. About this band, and then Johnny Lang was a part of it from the start. And when we got to London, we were joined by Bill Wyman of the Stones, John Mayall, Billy Gibbons, Pete Townsend, David Gilmour. Let's see, I don't want to forget any. Zach Starkey on drums, and this great guy from Metallica that now owns Peter.
Kirk Hammett.
Kirk, thank you very much. Sorry, Kirk. It's just when I'm called on to produce a number of names in a row.
I understand.
Yeah, but Ricky Peterson on keyboards. And,
get our buddy Ricky Peterson. He's a good man.
Yes. I figured you might have known him.
Yes.
So we had just a fabulous band and worked up all those old songs that you and I both loved.
Yep.
And I've actually played songs that I had never played before. Songs like Green Manalishi and Man of the World, which were songs I felt during the time I was doing the Mick Fleetwood Blues Band that were just a little too personal to Peter. I never felt comfortable playing them. But in this environment, they worked out well.
I remember Jeremy Spencer talking about Green Manalishi, and when Peter first played it for him, he said, "I literally saw demons coming out of the speakers." I'm like, wow. That's when perhaps you got to look at your vitamin regimen and say, what's going on here?
Yeah. Speaking of Jeremy Spencer, he was the surprise guest that evening, showed up and did a couple of Elmore James songs.
That's cool.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely about being tortured by the dark side.
Yes. The whole story of Peter Green's, excursion is actually, and Danny Kerwin as well. Another tragic, story but arguably when those two were together, it's like, it was hard to, I mean, you got to know which one was playing, but Danny Kerwin was no joke. I mean, he was a he had that very distinct vibrato of his own and was very much an excellent artist on his own right, and had a similar fall from grace and tumultuous kind of life afterwards, and also an early demise, which is unfortunate. But that's why I thought it was interesting that Pete Townsend did Station Man, because that was really a Danny Kerwin era. Peter was already gone by the time Kiln House came out. True.
The concert was billed as a tribute or a celebration of the music of Peter Green and the early Fleetwood Mac.
Okay, cool. So, I figured. That's a great song. I love that song anyway, so I was glad to hear it,
Yeah, well, Townsend apparently, by his own admission, and that he talked about on stage, borrowed, shall we say, the riff from that song for one of his own songs that wound up being very successful in The Who. And that's why he wanted to do that song and participate in the concert as well.
Oh, yeah, from probably Don't Get Fooled Again. Yeah, that's
exactly. Yeah.
It's crazy. What do they say? Mediocre musicians borrow and great musicians steal.
Yeah, well, whatever you want to call it, we all borrow from one another. Nobody hasn't borrowed something or a lot. Even B.B. King, you have to listen to.
Oh, absolutely.
All things that B.B. listened to, you know directly where he got it from. Chuck Berry, I didn't realize how much he borrowed from
T-Bone.
With Jordan and the Timpani Five, the guitar player's guy's name was Carl Hogan. He's the one that actually came up with the riff. That was Carl Hogan. And the Rosetta Tharpe, he got a lot of stuff from her.
Yeah.
Which is amazing to think about. And of course, T-Bone Walker had a lot to do with both B.B. King and Chuck Berry.